Yes, people, welcome back to GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV for another show for you guys. West Ham 3, Chelsea 1. We're going to be here to discuss that. It's only going to be a short show today. We're just going to fly through a couple of things in relation to the game yesterday, share our thoughts and feelings. It was an abysmal loss is probably the best way to explain it. Not the greatest result for our second game. Some individuals making their debuts as well in regards to Caicedo at later stages as well, which unfortunately didn't work out or didn't perform to the matter that we needed them to as well. So there's lots to talk about it, guys. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Going to get the panel in as well, so they'll be here as well. And let's cue that intro. People, welcome back to GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV for another show for you guys. And we are talking about the game yesterday. See a poor performance from us in the Blues. And unfortunately, really just like mixed up with this one. You know, we're going to talk more about that game a bit later on in the show as well. But I wanted to just quickly talk about news that we've been hearing from transfer market, because the transfer market is still open. There is stuff going on in and around the market. And there's been talks about the fact that we are looking to potentially still sign another attacker. Now, the attacker that we're talking about is right here with Fabrizio Romano, who says that Chelsea are working on signing a creative attacker. And then obviously this is via Fabrizio Romano. Updates are that Barcola priorities PSG. City's favourites to sign Doku. Chelsea look like looking at different players than Vlahovic at the moment. Chelsea haven't spoken to Kudus in almost 20 days. So Kudus would probably be the best option in all of this. I just don't see us doing that as we speak. But we'd have to wait and see. Really have to wait and see who the targets are. There is some names that have come out in the works. Some that have just been around for long as well. 2 seconds. Though, guys. Just got to send the link to. I'm not actually that well, to be honest. I shouldn't really have been streaming today. But I wanted to get it in because I know I'm not going to have the opportunity to do any more this week until obviously closer to Friday as well. Let me just quickly send this to Alex so he's got the link as well. Let him come in. But yeah, Fabrizio Romano talks about Chelsea being linked with more players going forward. We'll wait and see who they are. We've been linked to this guy, who I hope is not true. Striker Balogun has already agreed personal terms with Chelsea by a company called Football Transfers. I don't know how true that is. Obviously, there's talks about Chelsea looking for a new striker as well. I don't know really how true it is. In many ways, I hope that it's not true, because I don't think we need him specifically. I don't think he's good enough for us, in my opinion. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the ideas of Balogun to Chelsea, guys? I'm not really sure about that, in my opinion. Yeah, but interesting. Ashraf says Thiago Almoda is the guy. Almoda, who is this guy? Thiago Almoda. I don't even know who that is. Let's have a quick look. Thiago Almoda. Let's have a look. Thiago Almoda. I can't find it, mate. Who is that? Almoda. Almoda. Who is this guy? I don't even know who that is. Not a fan. Big up, Vic. How are you, bro? Be crazy if we sign Balogun. I'd rather sign Jonathan David or Watkins. Well, this is the thing, because Fabrizio Romano is saying that Chelsea are looking for a 10/winger. We're being told that there's also interest in the fact that we might actually sign a striker, which I'm still not sold on. I'm still not sure will happen. Banter from other clubs fans. I know, but do you know what? Let them do what they're going to do. We spent so much money in this window that they're just trying to force it, aren't they? Really and truly, they're just trying to force it. I would go for Ivan Toney. I wouldn't rush to get the striker right now. I would wait till January, and then I'd have a look at the likes of Ivan Toney or someone like that potentially coming to the club. The free kick he scored, insane technique. I don't know. I've not seen him. Who is better, Czech or Lampard out there prime for Chelsea? A bit of a weird question. I think they're both good for different reasons. You know, they were both legends of this club as well. But yeah, let's throw Alex in there as well. Alex, how you doing, bro?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. You sound a bit bunged up, so respect for coming on the stream.
I weren't going to come on because I've got I'm not. Yeah, my throat's a bit everywhere at the moment, so you can imagine trying to talk. It's not comfortable for me right now. But I wanted to, like I said, I wanted to get one in just because obviously, like I know I ain't going to have much time this week to have spoke about, and I thought it'd be good for us to actually just talk about what happened yesterday. But before we do that, we're just talking about what Fabrizio Romano said today in regards to Chelsea looking at potential 10/winger. There's some other people saying that Chelsea are still looking at strikers, and someone like Balogun, supposedly, which I don't believe the source is, looking to agree terms. I mean, you was at the game yesterday. We'll talk about the game a bit more later on, and obviously we've seen Jackson quite a bit frequently as well. I mean, you look at this attack at the moment, Alex. Does it worry you a little bit in terms of the creativity, or do you think we just need to be patient and maybe not rush and just buy someone for the sake of it?
I'm not worried. No. I can understand why people are worried, but we had a lot more reasons to be worried. And we're basically doing what we did last season better. We have players that want to be here. We have a top manager, a proven top manager. We have owners that made their mistakes and have hopefully learned from them, willing to invest in the squad with expensive signings, but also smart signings that we needed. So the style of play, that's going to take time, isn't it? I mean, no player is going to look great straight away. And in pre-season, that's one thing. I mean, it was great to see a good pre-season, but at the end of the day, the league's the league, and every team is difficult. I think that we'll walk all over. I thought we would walk all over West Ham. I thought it would be an easy game. I predicted 3-4-1, 3-4-0. I thought there's no way we can bottle this. But when you were actually there, West Ham had a number the whole time. And my perspective was, listen, it's the second game of the season. You know, it's not our December run. It's early days. We're building momentum. They're building momentum. We haven't lost. We haven't won. I thought Chelsea were the favourites. I think most people thought that way. Of course, we had a bad record against West Ham, but we have won a couple of games. It's not like we lost every single time. But look, it wasn't to be. If Fernandez would have scored that penalty, it would have been a completely different game. You know, I can't see us losing that game if Fernandez scores, because not only do we have the possession, but we have the confidence to actually do something with that possession. When he missed the penalty, it didn't just affect him; it affected the whole team. It's like, well, we're going to create all these chances, and none of them are going to be converted. But I think what we're going to see from Poch is going to surprise a lot of people. I can't see him rotating. I think he's going to stick with his squad. I think he's going to stick with Disasi and Silva and potentially Colwell as well. I'm not sure if he'll stick with the back three. I guess that's something we'll find out. But those players that we look at and we find them a little bit suspect, Mudryk as well, those are the players that I think he's going to continue to pick, because those are the ones that we paid the big money for and we have to rely on. So let's get the bad games out of the way now and then build on it towards the end of the season, because we usually have our bad run in December. Maybe it's just a case of Chelsea's fortunes are changing. December's going to be a great month for us, but August, it's a bit of a shit show. So that's the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I think, you know, it is still early doors, and I think as Chelsea fans, I think we need to be patient. I think we forget that we've got rid of a lot and still getting rid of a lot, but also brought in a lot of players that still need to maybe gel, mix, and understand what Poch is requiring them to do. It's only been 2 games, and I think we do have to be patient. And yeah, I mean, we're going to talk more about the game in a second. There's one more thing that I wanted to just quickly talk about, which is this comments from Nizar Kinsella about the potentials of Chelsea wrapping up a goalie from the New England Revolutions, the Petrovic, before the transfer window shuts on Friday of next week. I mean, we can start with Sanchez because it involves Petrovic as well. But I mean, watching him in the last 2 games, I'm not going to say I'm completely off with him. Don't get me wrong. I think, maybe he himself will need a little bit of time and whatever, and we'll see more later on. But from what I've seen in the first 2 games, do I blame him for the goals that we conceded? I don't think so, to be honest. I know some people saying the first one he could have done better, but I think it was just poor defending.
No, that's
That put
hard.
it in the
That's
back
a
of the
hard
net.
goal to save, Jem, isn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, when you're a goalkeeper, it's such close range. You don't know where that ball's going to go, who's going to head it. I mean, that's quite unfair. And it was a great ball by Ward-Prowse as well. You have to give West Ham credit for what they did do. I'm not saying that we defended well. They played well to score those goals.
I think, why is Gallagher marking Aguerd? It don't make no sense. Like Aguerd, the guy that scored the goal, it makes no sense. Why would you put someone as small as Gallagher on him? I just didn't get that, and it allowed him to sort of jump up and score from there. And in their second goal with Antonio, I just thought Disasi just made a mess of it a little bit, in my opinion. He should never be letting it go through his legs in the bottom corner. I don't think Sanchez could have done much about that. I think that was just a very, very good goal. And the third one was obviously a penalty we'll get to in a bit. But obviously, do you think it's a good idea of looking at us at the moment that we do go and look at maybe a goalie like Petrovic, just to give Sanchez a bit of competition? And if Petrovic can step up and maybe potentially be better than him throughout the season, then we go for him. Like, what would you do? Do you think we need to get one in?
Well, we spent all this money on all these players. And I just said it. I mean, the owners aren't just investing with a lot of money. They're trying to make smart signings. If Sanchez pays off, then it's a smart signing, isn't it? You've only spent 25 mil. So it's the same with this other keeper. I've never heard of him. What's his name? Petrovic.
Petrovic, yeah.
I've never heard of him. He must be all right. Otherwise, nobody would have scouted him. But I mean, you've got a budget of less than 20 million. That's not great if you're looking for a top keeper. So, look, he's going to come into it as a number 2. But I'm confident with Sanchez. And, I don't say that as if he's going to be the next Alisson or Edison. I think he's going to be better than Kepa. And that's an improvement. So, what more do people want? We finished 12th. If we finish 10th, it's an improvement, isn't it? It's not a good improvement. We should be much better, but it's not realistic to jump from 12th to 1st. And if we do finish in the Champions League, I mean, I said it before, I said it should be a given. I still believe that is the case, especially now that we know we're going to sign more players. We're not going to stop there with Petrovic. We're going to try and sign another Cam. I think City have just signed that player from Rennes, 60 million. That's here we go. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. What's his name? Do you know what I'm talking about, Jim?
Who's it from?
Fabrizio just said, here we go, about
Doku.
Cocky, yeah. The guy from Friends.
Jeremy Doku.
Doku, yeah, that's the one. So City have just signed him. Maybe that would have been a nice player for us to try and get a hold of. But look, we can't just do it all in one window. That makes Pochettino's life so much harder as well. We think that actually buying all these players makes it easier, but it doesn't. We saw that last season. The only reason that we had an excuse was because there was too many players, but there's still a lot of new players. And just because a player was here last season doesn't mean he's settled. The players that were here last season don't know what it means to play for Chelsea. They don't even win. They haven't even won any games for Chelsea. They've lost more games than they've won. So for Pochettino to bring in a winning mentality, that's not going to happen overnight. So
he needs time. He does need time. I think that's something that needs to be given anyway. We know that as well. I think we just need to be a bit more patient with that as well. But yeah, this. I just think there's an overreaction, but maybe more from the rival fans, just because of how much money we spent, and obviously the pressure is going to be there for us to actually put in performances. The players like Caicedo to step up as soon as they step foot on the pitch, etc. And obviously we'll go into yesterday's game anyway and just talk about it. And before we even talk about the players, I also want to talk about it overall. And I think obviously you were there, so you'll get probably the perfect sort of, from where I was watching it on TV, from obviously where you've watching it, you'll probably obviously be able to clarify a lot more. But obviously, I thought the first half, I thought we were very impressive. And when people say, I said to someone yesterday, I said, if you have rewinded to last year and we were in that position and we went behind 1-0, would we have even got back in the game? Because I don't think we would have. I don't think we would have. We'd have just crumbled, wouldn't we? And probably lost about 3 or 4-0.
Yeah, people are talking about our heads dropping. I mean, we literally came back and scored another goal and then won a penalty, which would have put us 2-1 up. So that shows you that we have a mentality. We're willing to fight for the shirt. we just lack a bit of quality. I think even Poch said it himself. You know, we are looking at other players, and that's not a bad thing. But I see a lot of positives on the pitch. You know, I'm a very optimistic fan.
Yeah,
You know,
100%, 100%.
I'm very optimistic, and you should be with Chelsea because we should be signing top players and having a top manager and playing good football. And we have played good football, but we just haven't done it for consistent periods. The first
Yeah.
10 minutes, I never understand that. We crumbled at the beginning against Liverpool, and we did exactly the same thing again. It was a lack of intensity. 100% I agree with people when I say that. But throughout the game, generally speaking, I'm not going to sit here and say the players weren't trying. I don't believe that. I really don't believe that. I think that there's times last season where we could have been better. But even when they talk about that, that's just a lack of fitness a lot of the time, not a lack of effort. You can see the players are fit. They're making runs. I thought Gusto was good. Sterling had a lot of energy.
Oh, it was very good, Sterling. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I thought the first half we played quite well. And, you know, the difference, again, and we've said it so many times in the past, was actually just putting it in the back of the net. And I think, all right, Enzo Fernandez had his chance. He missed it. Yeah, he should have scored. But even after that, we had chances. You know, there was moments where Sterling was just running at them directly and, you know, and crossing balls in. And, you know, Chilwell had that big chance where it come to his right foot and he hit it straight at the defender. And, like, we had moments. And then we come out in the second half and we just looked deflated. We just looked different, you know. I don't know what it was, but we couldn't put. We were still all right, trying to break them down or whatever. But they went down to 10 men. We just didn't have and we had Mudryk and Madueke and Sterling on the pitch and Jackson still up front, and we still just looked very flat. And I don't know if that's just again more time needed on the training ground, you know. And I also point fingers at Poch as well because I feel like with Poch, it's like when I saw the lineup, I was a little bit shocked. I was like, why has he done this again? You know, like, what's he doing here? Why is Gallagher now playing in the 6th role? Blah, 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 blah. And obviously, he confirmed that he felt Caicedo wasn't ready to start the game and whatever. But, you know, I just expected more from us in the second half. And I felt like we just lost it. And then, see, Antonio scored that goal. And then, you know, we kept trying to knock on the door, try and break it down from the right more than the left. And we just didn't have that cutting edge in front of goal on it. And I think to myself, well, if Nkunku was on the pitch yesterday with Sanchez, I think we would have won that game quite comfortably. I really think he would have just been the difference because he would have, in them moments when the balls are coming into the box and they land to him, he's put them in the back of the net. And I also think it benefits Jackson because for what I've seen of Jackson in the last 2 games, I feel like he's very isolated, man. Like we leave him up there on his. I don't know how it looks for you, Alex, when you're watching Jackson sometimes up front, but you know, I feel like a lot of the time he's just fighting on his own. He does so well. Don't get me wrong. Some of them running in behind yesterday, flattening some strong West Ham defenders on the floor, running, using his speed. He's very quick. I mean, you've seen him in thing, but he looks very quick in behind as well. He needs more support, in my opinion, when I watch him,
His hold-up play is exceptional. People don't give Jackson the credit that he deserves for his hold-up play because maybe he's not like a Costa elbowing people and doing all these things that you used to do. But the modern forwards, you can't get away with that. So you have to adapt. And as a modern forward, Jackson, for me, what I've seen, it's been fantastic. He could take more shots and be a little bit more direct on goal. That's granted. But one thing you see is he makes the players around him better. And I'm sure that has an impact on players like Sterling, and hopefully we can see that with Mudryk as well. Because for me, the end product isn't there with Mudryk, but the intention is always good. That's why I'm not really angry at Mudryk. I feel like he just needs to be coached. And as I said, I mean, coaching is not something that could be done in a couple of weeks with a player like that. I mean, Mudryk is raw. He is. I mean, it's almost like when you go into a school football team and you've got that talented player, but he doesn't quite fit into what you're trying to do. But if he does, he'll be unbelievable because the quality's there. He's just lacking confidence and he needs consistent game time. But at the same time, you've got all this pressure to play all these players. I think, you've got Sterling on there. Obviously, Madueke is coming back. It's difficult to see Mudryk starting every week because out of all the forwards that we have available, he's the least likely to score. I don't see a goal threat from Mudryk. I can see him being creative. I can see him getting a lot of assists, but I can't see him being the player to get on the end of those final balls. And I think creatively we can create enough chances without him anyway, especially if Chilwell's being pushed up, and I think Gusto can whip in a good cross as well. Look, we've got to just take it on the chin. People are already panicking because we've lost a game that we lose every other season anyway. You know, we always lose against West Ham the majority of the time. So I don't know why people are coming out and really acting like this is some sort of a disaster. Chukwuemeka was obviously a loss for us, but you know the season was going to be difficult with or without losing these players. And I'm still, I have to say, I can accept if we go on a run of maybe dropping points, knowing that when we do settle and the window's over, we've got a decent squad that we can build upon. And we know that Poch is going to give the players that deserve to play the chance. And I think we will see the fruition. If the guy can do it with Tottenham, he can do it with us. Come on.
There's a lot more better quality there than what was at Tottenham as well. And I think, again, maybe time on the training grounds required. There is a lot of new players coming in. Lavia didn't even make the bench. Caicedo just got, pretty much just not been here too long as well. And there's obviously people miss things with Caicedo, and we're going to talk about that in a bit when we get to him. But it's I think time is important. But obviously, before we get into the players, I want to quickly just speak to Forward as well. Forward, what was your thoughts on the? I know we talk a lot anyway in the groups and that, but welcome here anyway. And what was your thoughts on the overall game yesterday? What you saw?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, bro. Listen, it was I think the emotion was really just frustration coming away from that game because I come away knowing that we were the better team, we had the better chances, and we've come unstuck in a similar fashion to how we did last season in many games where we felt like we were playing some decent football on the par at times and just not being clinical up front and then making mistakes and being punished at the back. And it was a repeat of that feeling, but at the same time, it was a different approach that we had. And I can appreciate that some of the things that Poch is doing is working, and there was a lot of really positive things to take away from that game, especially in the first half. So I'm not as emotional in terms of like being angry and oh my god, it's going to be another bad season, as some fans are. Especially listening to a lot of rival fans who want to throw the whole we spent £1 billion to lose to West Ham. It's like I'm not going to get too invested in the result because I feel like there was a lot of positives to take from the performance. But there are still concerns that I have over certain areas in the team, which I spoke about on the last time I was on the show. And that's mainly the attack. And simply put, with all the money that we've spent, there isn't that belief for me that we're going to get a lot of goals from the way that we're playing and with the players that we have. Now, the big caveat to that is obviously no Nkunku because he's injured. But when I look at the forward line, which is I like some of the players there, goals are a concern, and obviously goals change games, goals win games, and a game like West Ham, that was a game to be won, and because we didn't get the goals, we allowed them to stay in the game, and then they punished us for some mistakes that we'll obviously talk about. So, yeah, overall I'm frustrated, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, 100%, and it is still early doors, and it's very hard to judge us at this point in time. We have bought some very good players, and I think they just need time to bed. But we're going to talk about some of them players quickly. Now as well. I'm going to go. I don't feel like I'm going to go through all of them because I feel like people like Thiago Silva, I don't really think need to be spoke about too much. I think we know what we get with him. For example, we spoke about Sanchez earlier on and the potential of bringing in a new goalie, but I'll probably start off with, I think it's probably better off to start with one of the new signings that we brought in, which was Axel Disasi. And obviously, he had a good game against Liverpool, scored and whatever. And then yesterday, he looked fine in the first half. And then second half, he just seemed to, I don't know if it was just him. I think it was just Coven, but people were starting to get a little bit worried. Started seeing some, moments in his game where he looked a little bit unsure and confident. I mean, the Antonio goal, actually, ball landed to him, and rather than passing it to a player after he received it, he ended up passing it to Ward-Prowse, who then knocked the ball over the top when Cole was out of position, and then caught him all out of position on that basis. So, it's still early doors. I'm still not sure with him. I'll be honest with you, I'm still in between with him. I think there is a good player in him. I think he brings a lot of qualities that we don't have. I think there is a leader in him. I think there's that passion in him to want to do right. I just need to see more in terms of his overall ability, And I mean, Alex, you were there yesterday. He looks like a beast on the camera. He must look like one on the pitch because I see him throw Antonio on the floor a couple of times, and that's not easy to do. So, what was your thoughts about him at the back?
I don't think he had a great game. Yeah, he got bullied, didn't he? He got bullied. It's a shame because he was so good against Liverpool. Yeah, he was really, really nice to watch. But no, it's not a surprise. It's a brand new player in a brand new league, in what is in a lot of ways a brand new squad. He doesn't know the players that he's playing with, and he's still getting to know the system and the manager and the tempo of the Premier League. So it's not going to be the first time. It's not going to be the last time that we see something like this. But I'm confident that he'll settle in. You can see that he's got the quality on the ball. I mean, that's number one. You've got a ball playing centre back. So you say to yourself, okay, that's the basis to play some good football. Right, we can pass from the back. Brilliant. He's playing with Thiago Silva. So he's clearly got someone to look up to and someone to learn from. And I'm sure he's going to take a lot from that. Players like Koulibaly, I know he couldn't settle in well, but he wasn't a young player. Koulibaly was already experienced. So for me, with Koulibaly, when he didn't settle in, it was a bit different. You're already set in your ways. He's used to a slow Italian league. Disasi's young. He's going to adapt, and he'll want to adapt. You don't sign a long-term contract at Chelsea and expect it not to be challenging. I'm sure that he was told about all the challenges he was going to get before he came. And at some point, he thought, bloody hell, things are going to be difficult. They always are, and in this league especially. But no, I would start him again against Luton. I would consistently start. If we are going to play with a back three, I would consistently start the same back three. I mean, I don't see any reason to drop Colwell. I don't see any reason to drop Disasi. And I think Thiago Silva's a no-brainer, unless obviously you need to rotate just to keep him fit.
Do you not feel like we need to play a back four, though? Do you think part of the problem at the moment going forward is that we're playing a back three? And we're maybe helping Jackson with that?
I agree with you. I agree with you on that. I think if we do play with a back four, though, Disasi is the player that will get dropped. It'll be Silva and Colwell.
Yeah.
So I guess if I'm just looking at Disasi himself, you would probably have to play a back three in order to get him to start and justify that start. But if you are going to play with a four, I'm not sure you really want to drop Thiago Silva. And obviously Colwell's a left-sided player as well. I think he's fantastic on that left-hand side. The way he's able to pass forward positively, and I don't know how he does it, but I mean, especially against Liverpool, that's where I really noticed it. The balls he gave for Chilwell that sort of curl inside, and then it's easy for Chilwell to run inside and almost be through on goal if it's the right run.
Yeah.
There's not many players that can do that, whereas Thiago Silva is more of a sort of a chip. So it's a different dimension to the way we play out. But then, look, I'm happy with the way Disasi plays out, but we'll see.
Defensively, there's questions to be answered, isn't there? Really, with it still, but we'll wait and see. I'll go to Enzo AJ on this quickly because I don't want to be stuck on one player too long. But how you doing, bro? Nice to see you, man. But what's your thoughts on Disasi yesterday? Do you feel that? I know there's a lot of critics on him already about his performance, but I don't think it was just him. But what was your thoughts on him?
Yeah, there's a lot of critics. I mean, and justifiably, he did, have some bad moments, but it happens, especially as a young player. What I want to know is, did he play in a back three at Monaco? I don't think he played in the back three, right?
He played in the back four. Yeah.
I think so. I think
mainly a four, but he has experience in the back three as well, though.
Mm-hmm. And I get it, but I think a lot of these players who have a play style like Disasi, they work better in a back four because they could use their athleticism a bit more. They just have a more clear role. But I mean, I think he didn't have the best game. So if he gets dropped, I wouldn't be surprised. And I would drop him personally just because I think we need to go to the back four. So not necessarily because he's whatever, but I would just drop him just because of that. But he could come back. It's early. It's the second game.
Yeah, you're never going to pick him above Colwell, are you?
Yeah,
so that's
not
at this moment.
Well, then Wesley Fofana comes back as well. It leaves obviously big competition, doesn't it, for them? And maybe we have too many centre backs in the team. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see at a later stage. But this goes on to my question to forward now, because we have been playing the back three, and obviously it's been Disasi, Colwell, and Silva. Now, Fabrizio, Poch has made it very clear that it's actually a back four and that Colwell was actually meant to be a left back. But what we have been seeing in that is Ben Chilwell being used more as what we're meant to be called as a winger in game, supposedly, is what we're being told by Pochettino. What are your thoughts on the system and the idea of Ben Chilwell playing in the role that he is at the moment?
It's a good question. There's positives to the system, of course. And I think for one, like I don't really mind the fact that we play with a back three. In fact, it's the best system in terms of building up from the back, having a 3-1 or a 3-2. We use more of like a 3-2 system in preseason. We've gone more to like a 3-1 with Gallagher being the pivot. And in a game like yesterday, when West Ham don't really press us, it's okay having just the one because we can play through it. It's not really like they're pressing too high against us. So yeah, I don't mind that aspect of it, and I think we have to also recognize that while most of us would want to see us play more attackers, we do lack height and physicality in the team. So having an extra centre back, which allows Thiago Silva to play in the middle and be covered by two physical centre backs, is good. Also, Disasi again, I haven't talked about him on this channel, but I do like the profile. He's big, he's strong, something that we need. Athletic, and then also good on the ball. He's not just a big lump, but he can play, so that's good. But my issue with the system comes with the fact that it's Chilwell that's on our left wing, and I think people have different opinions on Chilwell, and I think ultimately we will do rating. I think we do think he's a very good left back, but in terms of this position where he's this high up on the field, especially receiving the ball, and he's like holding our whip on that side, I'm just not a fan of it, I have to say. I feel like when a lot of attacks go down our left-hand side, with him, it's very basic. It's very, okay, I'll get it and I'll pass it back. And especially since his injury, I feel like his only real top-class attributes are what he offers running in behind and off the ball. And then in the box, he is a very good finisher, and he can sometimes be a nuisance, attack second post aerial ball. So I think he's good for that. But in terms of like our build-up play, I don't think he offers enough. And for me, I'd want to see a more natural winger on that touchline, especially against a team like West Ham who aren't going to do anything other than just sit in the mid-block and wait to pounce on mistakes. I feel like we can afford to have another attacker in that position. Of who that attacker is, because that's a question in itself, because Mudryk is leaving a lot to be desired for many fans. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the formation. I feel like a few tweaks can be made, but yeah, I feel like Poch still has to create a few more solutions for the team to make us more of a free-scoring team right now.
Yeah, I hear you, bro. I hear you. Well, I will move from that to the other side quickly, and we want to talk about a debut performance for. We'll go to Alex on this. I mean, I'll give my thoughts on it quickly as well when I find him. But Malo Gusto, in his first competitive debut for Chelsea. I can't even find him at the moment. Where is he? Is he even on it?
Squad, mate.
Why is he not even in the squad? Yeah, unless I'm going blind, I can't see him. He's not even there. Why would he not be there? He's a part of us. That's weird, isn't it?
But they have him alongside though.
Hey, that's weird. Anyway, Malo Gusto. Some people would have had it very weird. Some people were saying that in the first half they weren't too impressed with him and that he was getting beaten easily and this, that, and the other. But the way I saw the game of watching Malo Gusto, I thought he offered. I think when you look at the levels from where we was when Reece James got injured in the past to what was being put there to what we have now, I think he's a great option of a right back. I think he's speedy. I think his recovery speed's very good. I think he's strong. I think he reads the challenge very well. I think he's good on the ball. Where I don't think he's as effective is maybe going the other way as much as a Reece James. But I do feel that he has a good cross in him. And he did knock some good balls in the second half for us to try and get at the end of. I mean, I don't think we've got a bad player in Malo Gusto. I know James is going to be out for a couple of months, but I mean, Alex, you watched him. You were there. You could see him up and down. I mean, what did you think of him in his first game at Chelsea?
Mate, everyone was hyping him up so much. And I was saying, where are you getting this from? Because I don't watch the French league. So obviously a lot of people have watched the highlights or whatever it is. I'd never seen the guy play before he started playing for Chelsea. The main thing, you already said it, Jem, it's the crossing. That is the big difference that we saw with him and Paqueta. Obviously, he's got a bit more pace. You know, he's defensively quite sound as well. I thought he struggled at the beginning of the game, but then again, we were all sloppy. You know, it wasn't just Gusto that wasn't up to standard. But look, in the second half when we were pushing, I think he was making all the right runs and trying to whip balls in. At the end of the day, you're a right back, aren't you? There's only so much you can contribute to the team. in order to get us where we need to be. You're relying on the players in the box and the players around you to create. I think he did his job. I think he did his job well. You can't rely on your right back to win your games each season, which is funny because most of the time we rely on Reece James. So maybe that was an element that we were missing because, you know, as much as I do like Gusto, James does offer that little bit more quality, that goal scoring threat as well when he does get into a position. But he was solid, mate. You know, he was solid. I've got no complaints. And I think that, I think that really we need to worry about the left-hand side. And I'm surprised nobody mentioned Ian Maatsen because if there's one player that I would be looking at, especially if Chilwell's not performing, I'd stick Ian Maatsen straight in. I think he's unbelievable. I think he had a fantastic pre-season. He was great in his last pre-seasons he played for Chelsea before he went on loan to Coventry and to Burnley. And he played so well in the Championship every time I saw him play. And I watch Reading quite regularly. I live in Reading, so I saw a lot of Championship games. Yeah, mate, I'm surprised that Ian Maatsen's name's not coming up. I mean, how could you be so good in pre-season and not be given a chance? I understand the experience comes into it. I do understand that. But you're playing Chilwell, as Poch likes to say, as a winger. I think Maatsen actually fits that profile more. So I've got no worries about Gusto. There's not really a lot for me to talk about. It's a bit like Silva. I think he's solid, mate. I think he does his job, and I think that it's really up to the players around him to improve. Yeah. And then I think it will all get better.
Sorry, boys. I just come off of another stream. Yeah, I missed the first bit. Are people really complaining about Gusto? What's happening here? Are we? What's going on?
No, I just feel that some people got their own. From what I've read after the game, some people feel that he defensively is a little bit suspect. Like he gets beat quite easily, and you know his recovery speed's what allows him. It's a bit like Kyle Walker, you know, in the way that his recovery speed allows him to get back in games. And others are saying, well, he's actually all right defensively, but going forward, he doesn't offer enough, and you know he doesn't give us enough. That's why we use the left a lot more than the right. I mean,
do you know what it is though, Jemmy? Like I think people are over analyzing it because apart from the bit where Benrahma ran past him and he actually came back and did that good tackle, clean tackle, I can't think of any other examples of when he was beaten yesterday. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, you know, I know it's only pre-season, but we've seen him up against Mitoma, locked him up. We've seen him up against Isak, locked him up. Yesterday, Benrahma didn't do anything. It was only just that one opportunity, but it happens to even world-class fullbacks at times. You can get in behind them. So you're not going to get a perfect, even Reece James, he gets done sometimes here and there, but it's all about recovery. It's part of defending as a fullback. So I think people are just doing a little bit of over analyzing on him. Attacking threat, I do get it. Obviously, we're used to Reece whipping it in quite a lot. And that's a big thing that I mentioned with Gusto. I said like about Gusto, on the ball, he looks really comfortable. One-on-one defending, he looks really comfortable on that as well. He looks really switched on. But going forward, I'm not sure on his creative ability and to be able to actually whip in those balls. So that's something that's going to have to be coached into him. Maybe Poch needs to give him a few more instructions, maybe get the ball in a lot more than what he's been doing. But I think there's just a little bit of over-analyzing on yesterday because I don't know if you guys can think of any other examples. I can't think of many examples apart from that one where Benrahma skipped past him. Apart from that one. No.
And that sort of leads me on to the midfield because I think there's more talking points about the midfield and maybe more than most than anything. But Conor Gallagher got picked. He started. I mean, Don, we spoke about it. We was like, what is he doing? Why is he playing the same team as he played against Liverpool? Like, what is the idea? And I said, well, let's just wait and see. I think you did as well. Let's wait and see what how they perform on the pitch and what the idea is. And I mean, the first half was good, I thought, and I said it earlier on. I thought we played quite well. Second half was the complete opposite. We kind of just lost control. We lost ideas. We lost the whole thing of knowing. But Conor Gallagher in that sixth role, I mean, some people saying it's good and we should keep him as like backup and it's good to watch. I mean, what are you saying?
Bro, even you showed me that picture there, my heart's starting to pump again, bro. Like, it just annoys me, bro. It annoys me. Listen, in that first half, the guy wasn't getting pressed. He had all the time in the world to take as many touches as he liked. You know, but he was just doing the basics well. There was nothing really for me to rave on about. And then in the second half, when we brought in Caicedo and the Gallagher was pushed up further forward, you see that the quality is not there, the end product. He tried to slip through a few through balls, and it just wasn't working. You know, the guy just doesn't. Every time he gets the ball, he always looks like he's about to slip, never in control of his body. His balance is so poor, right? And the end product is just worse. So as much as he played well last season, it is not sustainable to keep Gallagher at Chelsea Football Club. Because when we need him to step up and we need to depend on him, because Poch loves this guy, by the way. Poch loves this guy off the ball and, you know, all the energy and whatnot. But Gallagher is just not Chelsea level. We need to accept the next offer we get, right? To help us with FFP and to help us going forward. Because we can't be looking at this guy dependent on him. Carney's out now for God knows how long. It sounds like a long-term injury. We're looking at new signings, but Gallagher's always going to find a way. There's always that player that always finds a way with certain managers, you know? They'll always find a way in that 11. And that's what worries me about Gallagher going forward. He's just not good enough. He's just not good enough, you know?
He's not good enough going forward, but can we not agree he deserved to start?
By default. By default, yes, because obviously you can argue that Caicedo wasn't ready. We haven't seen Santos play as of yet.
It's not got anything to do with Caicedo. He was that good against Liverpool. I mean, I was saying this on the preview with Kevin. I don't understand why people didn't want him to start. I mean, I get that people want to see Caicedo, but you don't really see players coming in making a debut straight like that. I mean, occasionally you have. I mean, Fernandez pretty much came straight into the squad. We saw a couple of players like that. But for me, it was, look, regardless of Lavia, Caicedo, I don't care if we got Rodri in the squad. I think Gallagher was that good that if you dropped him, I mean, he had the best game of his Chelsea career against Liverpool. I've never seen him play that well in the Chelsea shirt. So how do you justify dropping a player after that? So,
I'm not saying
my only problem.
I'm not saying drop him.
My only problem with that quickly is that we always bang on in the past about not playing players out of position, but we're playing him out of position by forcing him playing in the six. It's a little bit like watching Ruben Loftus-Cheek play off the wing. It was okay, but we just knew it wasn't his position. He'd have some really good games, and then on the other side of it, it'd be like, where is he? What's he doing? He's useless, you know. And part of it was like, well, can we blame him? He's being played out of position. And when I look at Gallagher, I just don't feel in myself in watching him. And yes, he played well against Liverpool, that he is a six and he can be consistent in that six role. That's my problem with it. You know what I mean? So are we just forcing him in the team because that's the only area we've got for him? We played him further forward where he's meant to be naturally more comfortable. And he was wasteful yesterday, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Alex, I think he's in the team because of his physicality. Like, again, I agree with a lot of what Don said. I don't think he's certainly not my type of player. I feel like on the ball leaves a lot to be desired. And yeah, the creative aspect isn't there. But against a team like West Ham where they weren't pressing us too much, he's fine. You don't have to rely on him for his technical security, his ability to beat the press. But what he was good at, again, like he was in the Liverpool game, was winning the ball back for us. And there were a couple of transitions that he created from winning the ball back in the second half where
that was good.
He could have done more if Jackson had made a better pass, or if Mudryk had done better with another opportunity. So I feel like he offers that, and I feel like we still have to recognize that that is one of the areas in this team that we're not great at. We haven't got a lot of guys who are good at winning the ball back for us, and the guys who are physical. Now, obviously, he did make a mistake on the first goal. His job isn't to really man-mark Aguerd. It's more a case of like he's one of the blockers. So it was more Carney that's in that area to try and win the aerial ball. But Gallagher's job is to make sure that Aguerd doesn't have a free run to get there. But he didn't do that, and that was obviously poor. But in terms of Gallagher right now as the team stands, personally, I would keep him. I know this is a point of contention with the fan base, but with Nkunku out, now Carney out, we've now got Caicedo and Lavia in. For me, DM, he doesn't need to be playing him anymore because once Caicedo's fully integrated, then he should be fine. Same with Lavia. But we have a big issue with goals in the squad, and we know this now. Whereas Gallagher, we know, even though it's not the prettiest the way that he plays, he's not, let's say, as silky as someone like Felix or whatever, but he's probably more effective than a Felix. He'll probably get you more goals over a season than a Felix. So for me, I don't mind seeing him be someone that can be a backup 10 or right now starting in a 10 with Carney out, because one thing he will do is he will crash into the box and he will get goals.
Did you say he gets more goals than Felix? I did. That was a good one. I actually found that quite funny.
The thing is though, forward. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. And first of all, Alex, I get what you're saying. Like after last game, Connor deserved to start. Cool. I expected him to start a little bit further up because in my head I was thinking Caicedo's joined at the start of the week. We're playing on a Sunday. Potentially he could start. Santos, for whatever reason, even though he had an amazing preseason, better preseason than Connor, Poch doesn't seem to trust him in the league. So I always knew in the back of my head, there's a chance of Connor starting in that pivot, right? But forward, what I'm saying, the problem that I've got is, yes, Connor is great at pressing from the front and he can win the ball back from the opposition. But how many times have we seen Gallagher break down counters? How many times have we seen this guy just not give that end product, that quality that we need, right? And as it is right now, bro, we're not great at finishing chances. I don't want to be in a position where we're creating all these chances or we're on a break and Gallagher constantly keeps breaking them down. Constantly keeps breaking them down. I've seen it one too often. I saw it last season, you know, and I saw it again yesterday when he played further up. So for me, it's a quality issue. Yeah, I know he'll give all the hard work, he'll give all the energy, but in comparison to the others that we've got right now, there is a quality issue with Conor Gallagher, and I don't think he's Chelsea quality. Yeah, however anyone wants to spin it, yes, he could do a job for us, but when it comes to crunch time and we're playing against a low block and we need someone to slip it between the lines and we're dependent on him, he is not that guy. Then we're going to come after the game and we're going to complain that Gallagher had a simple pass, he couldn't make it. Gallagher had a simple finish, he couldn't finish it. It's going to be the same thing, bro. I can see it from a mile away. That's why I'd rather just get rid of him and not have that problem and give someone else the opportunity that I've seen more quality from. That's the issue that I've got with Gallagher.
Yeah, I hear you. And I want to move away from Gallagher because we'll get stuck on him for too long. I'm going to go to Enzo AJ on Enzo on this one. I mean, it was a mixed one again because some people felt, and I was, again, you know what I'm like when it comes to Enzo Fernandez, right? Everyone knows. But I thought, barring the first 10 minutes where he gave a couple of balls away, he was back to himself. Like he could have had 3 assists in the first half, in my opinion, if people just put it in the back of the net. And yes, he missed the penalty. Yes, he did. I was quite surprised that he actually took the penalty, in all fairness. I thought Jackson or Sterling or someone like that would have just stepped up. But he must have decided he wanted it and he took it. But was Enzo Fernandez bad yesterday, AJ? Or was it just that he missed that penalty and then all of a sudden it makes him look bad because
that's what it is. And again, I don't know if anybody's ever missed a penalty, but it's a confidence thing. You could immediately see his confidence changed once he missed that penalty. The choices of passes that he made were different. Just, you know, you just see it in the body language. But before the penalty, he was running the game. Yes, maybe he missed a couple passes in the beginning, but everything that was sustained for Chelsea was running through Enzo. He was always on top of the box, moving the ball around, getting the ball back, just making the right passes. So, unfortunately, he missed the penalty, which is psychologically, it's not good. But I do wish Jackson took the penalty because I think it would have. There was more benefit for Jackson to take and score the penalty than for Enzo to take and score the penalty. And then on top of that, he missed. So it was just a messed up situation altogether. But I think overall he had a decent game, you know, especially the first 30 minutes. I think he had a good game. But again, the penalty kind of took him out the game.
Listen, if Enzo's going to be on penalties, I don't want to see that run up again. Please don't do that run up again. I was saying this on the terrace yesterday. Like I hate it so much when players do that run up because if you actually, like, when you play football, your coach will always tell you, don't change your mind when it comes to penalties. When you've got that much time and you're thinking about it, you're going to end up changing your mind. Enzo, we all know Enzo's got the quality, and that was a shocking penalty from Enzo. I think if Enzo had a shorter run up, I reckon he buries that. But it kind of looked like he changed his mind last minute. That's why it's just shocking, you know, because the quality is there.
Honestly, bro, it looked like he wanted to do the J5 thing, but like he waits to the last second and then he goes for it. But like he paused too early, and then he just ended up doing a short run up, which is like you're not gonna get enough back here. You have to place it right in the corner if you want to beat the keeper, and he didn't do either. So it's just like, what was the? Again, it just looked like somebody who just isn't confident taking penalties.
If you just run up to it and just, you know, with his ability with the ball and how good if it just, like you said, didn't do that and just run up to it and just placed it as, I reckon 9 times out of 10 he would score because he's got that ability, isn't he, just to like pin it. But I think it was his run up.
Taking a penalty is a skill, like it's a skill, you know. Everybody, we curse Jorginho for not being able to pass long, but look at how expertly he could take a penalty. It's literally a skill. So I think. Yeah, I don't think that's Enzo's skill. I think you should have just let somebody who's a natural striker of the ball, like Jackson, even Sterling, you know. Just
I hate that strikers don't want to take penalties these days, bro. I hate it so much. I hate it.
Ridiculous. Or the manager who's saying that, because for me,
I think it was the player.
Jackson gave him the ball, innit? Jackson gave him the ball.
I mean, you were there yesterday. What did it look like? Did it like he just took the ball and went, "I'm taking this"?
Mate, I was about 10,000 meters away from where the goal was.
For me, Jem. But for me, like I feel like I have to give the benefit of the doubt that surely a club the size of Chelsea, they do their due diligence, and I'm assuming over pre-season, like there's penalty shootout sessions like twice a week, and maybe there's an analyst guy that's there, like taking a day of who's scoring the most, and maybe Enzo has the highest percentage. I have to assume that there's some sort of process into who's going to be taking penalties for us. And maybe Enzo was the guy, and he was just poor, and he had it, and he ran it bad on the day. But for me, like, I want my strikers to want to take penalties and to then put them away. And it's sad that they're not there to do it. And I don't know maybe if Reece James was fit, if he would have taken it, because we know he has a good penalty record. Obviously, in Nkunku's the main one. I think he would have taken penalties and scored most of them if he's here and fit. But yeah, man, like, hopefully Jackson wants it and will take it from now on, or maybe even Sterling, because he took a few at City and had a decent-ish record. But yeah, again, I always come back to the thing of goals. Goals win games, and the difference between us and, let's say, like a Liverpool who outplayed for most of the game. Yeah, we know when they attack, they have guys who are going to put the ball in the back of the net. And with us, we don't have that, and we had a golden opportunity to do it, and we didn't take it.
100%. And it leads on to one of the biggest talking points that maybe more rival fans spoke about more than anyone else. Let's be serious. Moises Caicedo's debut for Chelsea. Now, I'm going to just say what I think straight up on this. He's not had a pre-season. I think we all know that. I mean, he pretty much sitting in a room waiting for Chelsea to sign him for God knows how long. He comes on, he gets signed, he comes and trains with us for a couple of days. Training and match fitness, I think, is two different things. Yeah, I can understand why at the end of it, Poch said, look, we put him through his tests and he weren't ready to play the full game. We give him half hour. However, there were certain things in the game that you can't defend him on, because I just think some of it was just very basic, you know. And it's a weird one because I'm not judging him now. No one is. And we know that Moises Caicedo is a class outfit. Let's just get it right. Yeah, once he gets fit and he's trained and he's gelled and he's in the team and whatever, you're going to see the best of this guy. I have no doubts about it. But when you look at the timings of his challenges yesterday, his positional sense, the penalty, it's just reckless. You know, there's nothing more to say, is it? It was just, what are you doing? Let's be serious. Why would you make that kind of tackle in the box?
When I saw that, I was praying. I was like, bro, please tell me that you got the ball at least.
Yeah.
Because when the ref gave it, I was like, yeah, no, that's definitely a penalty. Then when they showed the angle, I said, oh no, we're gonna get cooked today.
Yeah, and look, his own reaction after the game, you could tell how annoyed he was with him. I mean, he was, on the floor. He prays a lot, doesn't he? He's very religious from what I see in that, obviously, as well. And he knows himself. He's came out on Instagram and said it wasn't the debut I wanted. I know, but I'm going to work hard and I'll get myself back. So, and I do think partly to that, it's just because he just wasn't ready. I really don't think he was ready for that game yesterday, And I don't know.
Nerves play a key part. Again, this guy is the record holder in terms of transfer fee right now. That's not a easy thing to deal with. So I think that plays a part as well. And then once you make one mistake, that shit is playing on you. It's a domino effect.
100%. I don't really know if there's much more to say about him, guys. Really, I don't know if Alex, you wanted to say anything from what you saw, but other than we just got to give him time. But
we haven't seen it, have we? We haven't seen
literally.
It. So I mean, I look at Caicedo the same way as I look at players like Disassi. Didn't have a good game. These guys are young. They haven't played with the team. They just need to get used to it, and we need to get used to them as well. I mean, look, we can have a go at Sterling because we saw how bad he was last season. He needs to step up, and I think he did. But players like Caicedo, maybe it's going to take him a couple of weeks. I actually think that it's a weird one with Chelsea as well, because you see with a lot of other top managers and top teams, they'll sign a big player, especially like Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool when they bought Fabinho. I remember all these players. Man City do it as well. They don't just chuck them in straight away. We always seem to do things differently. We put our players under pressure straight away, and it's either going to work well or it isn't. But you've got to dive in, and you've just got to sink or swim. And we might have another shit show on Friday. You just don't know.
No, we can't.
Alex, would you start him on Friday? Alex, would you start him on Friday, bro?
I mean, it depends on the formation, doesn't it? But I mean, you want to play the team around Caicedo. I mean, he's a good ball player as well. I wouldn't have anything wrong with. I don't see anything wrong with that. I think actually, if there was a good team to start against, it's Luton at home.
Yeah,
that is the picture, isn't it? And then you've got a great follow up with Wimbledon as well. So I mean, I would start him in both of those games.
Get them gelling and ready. Yeah, I mean,
absolutely. But also, just get confident, because let's say he did start against Liverpool and he was the same level as he was against West Ham. He wasn't ready for that game. He was never ready for that. So, look, it could be a blessing in disguise having a bad moment, because now we know bloody hell, we've got to get our act together. And
Yeah.
I think that he will. You don't get to the level that you've played at a team like Brighton without knowing how to play under pressure. But just a couple of games of playing against a team that maybe isn't as good at pressing or doesn't have the pace or the physicality where you can dominate the ball and just get used to your teammates as well. I mean, people think like you should know your teammates inside out. If you don't have the ball half the time and you're not able to utilize it, then you can't get to know your team. It's all very good talking about the press.
Important. Yeah.
I mean, we're going to dominate possession against Luton. We're going to dominate against Wimbledon. I mean, those are the games that I think, right. And Nottingham Forest as well, to be fair. But just getting to grip with the movements. I mean, that's massive, isn't it? You know,
training. Yeah, the chemistry on the pitch, the training, the chemistries between individuals like Enzo, Caicedo, Lavia, if he's coming in. I think what Poch needs to do right now for me, really and truly, I think him as the manager needs to solidify the specific system that he actually truly wants to play with in these next couple of games. I see this as a big opportunity not to fuck around and play 3, 4, 5 or whatever he's going to do. Yeah, if that is what he wants to do, then fine. And I want to see how it's going to work moving forward. But I really feel the thought at the back needs to be done in these next 2 to 3 games. We need to see our attackers being given more opportunities, being able to press more. We're going to be creating more. And it's going to be more about how we break teams down. Yesterday, what West Ham done very well. And they didn't play well yesterday, by the way. We dominated them. Let's be serious, right? They just sat back. All of them got behind the ball, made it very hard in the middle, very congested, and we couldn't break them down. Yeah, and that was my worry. The only one that did break them down was the guy that we're going to talk about next. And he's been getting a lot of stick. And I saw a different Raheem Sterling yesterday. One that was looking like, hang on, he's got a bit of ability here, running at players.
Man City one. The Man City one.
Mm-hmm.
Running.
And when I mean running with like purpose and directiveness and skipping past these players like with nothing. And I'm thinking to myself,
quality yesterday.
Why you just woke up now though, bro? Like you could have been doing that a year ago, these basic things, but it goes to show confidence and fitness. And, obviously he's looking at it as a new chapter, but come on guys, for me, he was the man. I mean, we lost, but if we were talking about a man of the match yesterday for a Chelsea player, I think he was probably the best
player on the pitch.
Best
player on the pitch. Listen, for me,
what was different about Raheem Sterling?
I mean, just played with a purpose, bro. Like, he picked up the ball. Like, first couple of times he did it, I was like, okay, you're kind of just driving into alleyways. I'm not sure where you're going. And, like, got to the byline both times. I think first time nothing came of it. Second time he got across into nobody. But, like, you could see from the outset, like, the manager, or maybe himself, he just said, okay, your aim today is to get the ball and drive as many times as you can. Make things happen, drive into pockets, and look, maybe have to either combine or get to the byline and get across or get a shot or do something. But I like that. I like the fact that this is a Sterling who wants to be assertive and makes things happen. And for me, the last time I saw this out of this player was at the Euros. Like, I think at the Euros, he broke the record for the most dribbles completed in a tournament. And, like, that's super impressive, bro. And that's not something that's normally been one of his biggest attributes. Like, his attributes normally is about scoring goals, maybe getting back post tap-ins or his movement off the ball. But we're seeing more of that movement on the ball, which we haven't seen from Sterling in probably a couple of years now, since the Euro. So it was good to see. I think, again, Jem's asked a good question, but I haven't seen this earlier from the player. But I do think there's part of that is confidence. I think part of that is also what the manager tells you to do. And obviously with Tuchel, he had different like requirements. And then with Potter was playing wing back a lot. So, like, it's different to what he's doing now, where he's picking the ball a lot in central areas and sort of driving at the back line. So, I love what I see. It's still, I mean, it's going to sound a bit contradictory, but this maybe isn't the Sterling that we need, just because the Sterling that we need probably is one that's going to get us a lot of goals. And if he plays a lot like this, maybe goals will still come, but we're going to need goals from other people because he's looking more to create in this role. But look, he's being effective, and that's really what I want to see again. Jem, we complained a lot about the lack of certain profiles in this team, and one was somebody that picks up the ball and just drives and dribbles at players and makes things happen, and that's what Sterling's doing. So I love it, and long may it continue. And it's only 2 games. I've been one of his biggest criticizers recently, but I did say that he's an experienced player. He's on big wages. He knows this is a big season for him in his career, so he has to turn up. I have to have belief that he can maybe still get something out of him. And so far, 2 games in, it's 2 good performances, so he just needs to keep it up. Like, this is the level, and he has to keep doing that.
100%.
Let me just say something real quick. I agree with everything Ford say, but I do think that performance from Sterling should just be like his base performance. To be honest, like
be normal.
The guy is like He's been in the league for so long. He's won so many titles. Like, that's a basic performance for Raheem Sterling, to dribble the ball into the box and make a few cutbacks. That should be your remit to begin with. So I think I know he hasn't had the best season last year, so it's nice to see it now. But I think this should be his standard, and anything less than that is like we questioning you. I'm going hard on Sterling this year because like you're like the guy, you're the oldest guy up there for us. You should be leading us, and just the mentality needs to be there. So I'm questioning him. So I hope that this is his base performance and we see more than this going forward.
I think we will. I think we will. He's got the support from the manager. That's what he didn't have last year. So I think that a lot of people are going to be surprised with how consistent he is. Because, I mean, even in that Liverpool game, everyone's calling him the weak link. He was so much better than last season. So much better. So
I agree.
We saw the building blocks then, and we've seen even more improvements against West Ham. Last season, there were so many streams where maybe I wasn't on here, but I was listening in, and people said Sterling was signed here to be that guy. He was standing to be that guy, but he was never given the opportunity to be that guy. And maybe it looked like it when he was being started, but the system didn't suit him. The manager rotated half the squad, so you didn't have a team that could play around Sterling and get to know Sterling. What you're going to see this year is, I don't think you're going to see a lot of rotation. I think you're going to see a lot of the same starting lineups, very rigid, similar to what we saw under Conte, Sarri, these type of managers, because you don't need to rotate. You need to get the pace. And Sterling is clearly a big part of that. I mean, we saw that against West Ham. If there's a player you need to rely on for goals, it's him. He did it for City in a great team, and hopefully can do it for us in a not so great team, but a building team. If everything works around him, even if we're crap, he will score. That's what Tuchel did at the beginning of last season. We played shite football, but Sterling still scored. So hopefully we can play some good football and get the same product. But yeah, I'm very confident based on that. So, it's because he was
Sterling's performance. It's weird, isn't it? Yeah, like Sterling's performance, it definitely represented someone that's got that Premier League experience, like that's got that know-how, how to unlock teams. Because like even on the ball, like I've said before, he's not a hazard. But yesterday, bro, he was showing a little bit of flair, man. He kept like dropping his shoulder. He was like drawing people in, winning fouls, just being a nuisance on the pitch. And that's what I love from Sterling. I'm definitely a Sterling advocate. Like I've always said, this guy gets disrespected too much. But we haven't seen Sterling that we know at Chelsea, obviously. Now he's got a quality around him. I hope he can build from this. I hope this gives him a little bit more confidence. I think maybe confidence was a thing with him as well. Because Sterling, I feel like there hasn't really been a connection between him and the fan base a little bit as well. So hopefully that just gives him a little bit more confidence to drive on, man. I think he can definitely be big for us this season.
What about Mudryk? Because he's one that everyone seems to want to see him kick on. And I have said, look, I feel he needs a manager. He needs to be managed well. And I watched him yesterday and I just felt I still feel we need to see get more from him in these games. And, we know the quality's there. He's got the speed behind. He's direct. But is he holding back? Is he just not being played correctly? He was played in two different systems yesterday. One off the left, one in the inside pockets. Like, what do we do with Mudryk to get the best out of him?
This is it. Obviously, the player's got to take accountability. But yesterday, Poch didn't manage him correctly. You bring him on, you start him, you play him in that 10 for Carney. And then when he made the sub to take, who was it that he took off and put Caicedo on and Gallagher went further up. Then he went on the left.
Chilwell.
Yeah, that's it. When he took Chilwell off, then you had Mudryk on the left. Like I said before, you can't develop a player that's constantly being chopped and changed. He needs to get that consistent game time. And he's only going to get that if we play a back four. I want to see Mudryk starting on the left and Sterling on the right with Jackson up top. Then you'll be able to actually see something from the get-go. But if you're doing these little bit part performances, bringing him in a position that we haven't seen him play, not even in pre-season, and then you put him on the left, is up against a low block. West Ham probably have the best low block in the league. What do you really expect him to do? There's no excuses for that finish. The quality was poor. I'm not excusing his performance, but I just feel like he's not being managed correctly right now. Poch wasn't right to bring him on the way he did yesterday, in all honesty. So that's how I'm kind of looking at it. I'm just praying that he gets more consistency when we go back to a back four and play him on that left. Then I can properly assess him. Because right now I can't assess what's going on because I don't feel like he's being managed correctly, if that makes sense.
We know Mudryk is a space type of player, and for Poch to make that sub and put him in the middle of the field against West Ham, where it's just straight congested in the middle of the field, Mudryk's touch is already not there right now. Like it's like what are you doing? Like just play him on the left wing, and let's try to play him over the top or play him through on goal or just get him 1-on-1. That's what he's about. Like just keep it simple. Like that's my thing. Like this. I don't think Mudryk works in a 3 in the back system. Like that's just what it comes down to.
I completely agree with this comment as well, by the way. He always makes the most positive runs. He's trying to go through and go. Even when he had a shot, I mean, rubbish shot, but he's going for it. I mean, that's more than you can say for a lot of our players. The one question that I guess I have for the panel is when you play Mudryk, it doesn't matter where he plays, in a 10 or in a wing, I don't understand how you play him. Are you saying to him, listen, this is what you need to do this job, or are you giving him the freedom to basically just be creative? Because I feel like when he's given too much freedom, he can get, I don't want to say sloppy, but he doesn't really know what he's doing. He makes some strange runs. Sometimes he doesn't make the run at all. Is he a player that needs to be told what to do and how to do it, and that's how he's going to develop, or is he going to be given the opportunity to just shine on his own?
I think he needs to take a bit of accountability in himself for his own performances. There's been times when I've watched him and I'm like, run, use that speed, get behind so he can release the ball, but it will go to ball. And I'm like, all right, you've gone to ball, but now what you're doing with the ball? And, you know, I don't see enough of him taking the ball and being direct. And I've seen him do it with Ukraine. Gets the ball, he's the main man, and he'll do a 1-2, and he'll run around 2 or 3 players, cross the ball in, bang. I don't see it enough in the Chelsea shirt. That's why I say he can do it. Some people may say that he's being managed not to. I disagree. I just think he's picking and choosing specifically when, and I think he's decision-making in game in terms of where he needs to be, when to run in behind and whatever. I feel that he's still learning that. And that sounds silly to say that about a player that plays off the wing because they should naturally have that in them. But I just think when I watch him in the Chelsea shirt, I don't fully feel that the confidence is not the word. I don't fully feel that he's putting himself in the right positions when he knows, let's be serious, he knows he probably should be in that, if that makes sense. You know,
well, there was a bit yesterday, Jim. There was a bit yesterday, Jim, where he like tried to give their right back steps and tried to whip it in. I don't see. I get what you're saying, but I've seen Mudryk trying to take players on, even if it doesn't work or if his touch is a bit off. I have seen it, but like I said, I haven't seen him consistently in lineups. How many weeks do we say like Mudryk should start on the left? Mudryk should start on the left. And we haven't seen it, bro. We haven't even seen the back 4 we played throughout preseason. Going back to that preseason game against Brighton, I know it's preseason, but you can still take indicators out of it. This guy's touch looked spot on, bro. He looked secure in possession. He looked like he could track the ball. He scored that good goal when Jackson linked up with him. When he came on against Dortmund as well, he had a good little cameo. Looked secure. I feel like Mudryk's a confidence player, in all honesty. But in order to be confident, you need to be playing games, bro. I'll criticize him. You know how people want to criticize him online when if I'm seeing him constantly started and he's just not playing well.
You need to take your chances, and that's the thing with me. Like you're going to come into Chelsea and play 60, or on the 60th minute, 30 minutes in. You're not starting games as much when people want to see you start. Make a statement. Go out there and go. No, I'm going to take control of this game and I'm going to step up. Doesn't do that enough for me. I need to see him do more of that.
But do you think that he's being there is that aspect of it as well? Yeah, I do agree that he does need to do more when he's actually got that game time, regardless of where he's being played. But do you feel that the fact that he's being mismanaged, in my opinion, do you think that overrides him having to step up in a bit? Because if you're not being managed correctly as a player, that's going to affect you, bro.
You can't be if you're being mismanaged to play in a position that you're not aware of. And we said it about Conor Gallagher to a degree as well. Like, of course you're not going to see the best of the player. But, we made the substitution of bringing Ben Chilwell off like yesterday. And there was specific moments where he got in behind. He whipped a very good ball in the box. No one was in there, actually. There was good moments in what I saw of him. And then other moments, I'm like, come on, continue. That's good. I want to see that consistently for the next 5 minutes. Ask for the ball, get it out wide. And every time you get the ball, drive. Use your speed and run at players. That's what I want him to do. But he doesn't. Sometimes he just gets the ball and cuts inside.
Well, I don't think the conditions are always perfect for him to do that. I think he's not put in those type of conditions where it's like, okay, Mudryk, you're going to start on this left or you're going to play on the left. Just do this. He's always thrown into a situation. Mudryk is the type of player that you just need the one direction and he knows he's going to get the ball and just do your thing. But it's a little bit too clunky every time he comes on the field, and I think that comes from the manager.
Now that is the
I
manager.
think you have
and
to
talk
also
about
look at the
systems
player.
as well, because when you look at Ben Chilwell and where he's playing at the moment, and Forward said it earlier, it is on Poch because he's using Chilwell as a winger when in theory Mudryk would have been playing in that role. And why Mudryk don't start and Carney does, and maybe Gallagher goes in that role and whatever, is because he ain't comfortable in that 10 pocket. We know that. So maybe the system's letting him down a bit because we're not playing the 4 at the back where he can play off the wing and just hog it. But I think we need to do that in the next couple of games, you know?
Yeah, so just for me, just before we move on to the next player, like, I just want to say with Mudryk, we're going to have to exercise a lot of patience with him for me. He was signed for a lot of money, and there's obviously a lot of pressure that comes with that. And there are times where he looks like he's got that X factor in him to create something out of nothing, or his pace is just electric and that nobody can stop him. And then there are other times where he looks like Bambi on ice. And as much as we say, oh, he's being mismanaged this and that, like there's no excuse for you slipping over and looking like you're on rollerblades. Like there's no excuse for sometimes the miscues and all this other stuff, which again, it doesn't look good on the eye. And as a fan, obviously we get frustrated again. We can all remember the time when William was here, and obviously different player, but like when William would do things that are like would look to us as brain dead, we would get upset and angry like in the moment. Obviously, sometimes he will still have really good games and obviously score goals and whatnot. And with Mudryk, he's going to be similarly frustrating to us as fans. But I'm gonna just say that he's played the equivalent of like 9 games so far for us under 4 different managers. So it's we have to take our time with him and be patient and suffer through the times where he looks just like odd on the pitch and makes really weird decisions and whatnot. So I think that's just part of what it is to deal with a player like this. But I will just say on like the whole pressure thing, like so obviously we signed for a lot of money and there's pressure on him to perform and whatnot. There's a bit more eyes on him, but he's also got to embrace that and accept that and rise to the challenge because Maatsen was better than him in pre-season. I think he does, but it's also like a case of like we've got to judge him based on what he does as well because Maatsen for me was much better in pre-season and he's not been given a chance yet. And I mean, fair enough, you can say whether he should or not. I agree with Alex that for me, I would love to see him playing on the left wing like we're using Chilwell currently because I think he offers way more on the ball. With Mudryk, obviously, I don't think he was as good as Maatsen, but he's been given a chance because he's that quote-unquote £100 million player and signed for a lot of money and given the number 10. So, okay, we understand that you're young. We're going to give you time. Not every one young player turns up and looks like Wayne Rooney bursting onto the scene. Cool, but we still need to see more than what we're seeing. And hopefully that comes. Again, we're given the time and the grace, but it still needs to be better than what we're seeing.
What happens with Nicolas Jackson? Because he hasn't scored any goals yet, but the performances have been very impressive on his own. He does miss Nkunku, and I keep saying that because I think Nkunku would be a lot closer to him and they'd be more effective together because he wouldn't be up there on his own, and I feel he's isolated. But when he is isolated, the control, the technique, the speed to run in the behind, he does everything right. I just feel a little bit that he needs. He's a forward. So I expect him to score goals, right? So he does all of these good things that we like to see. And trust me, they are very good things. And I think we'll benefit from that. But when he's in the box and in front of goal, there was a couple of times against Liverpool and a couple of times yesterday where there was little chances where ball comes in and you expect him to just get a little flick on it with his foot or something. But the goal, he misses it. It goes behind him. It lands to Chilwell. There was like little things that I've seen with Jackson. And I'm just like, is he an actual goal scorer? Is he what we need in terms of what's in front of him?
I get where you're coming from, bro. And it's a weird one with Jackson because again, I keep taking it back to preseason, but that's what we've seen of him preseason as well as now, right? He put his foot through the ball. I think it was up against Newcastle when we played them. But the chances that I'm seeing him missing, it kind of looks like someone that is trying a little bit too hard to score. And he's kind of thinking he's scored before it's gone in. Like even when you remember when Sterling chopped it back to him, he kind of just fluffed his lines at it, like getting a bit excited. So I've got a strong feeling that as soon as he gets that one, he's going to start to compose himself a little bit more and you're going to see a little bit more composure in front of goal. I think right now he's putting a lot of pressure on himself to score, and that's affecting him in front of goal. Do you know what I mean? Not to say that, the finishes haven't been poor, because they have been poor, but that's what I get from the sort of finishes he's been missing. Like the header, me and Ford were speaking about it yesterday. I feel like he timed that so wrong. Maybe he's excited that I'm going to score this. He timed it so wrong. When Sterling chopped it back, he timed it so wrong. But I feel like when he gets that composure, we're going to see him finishing more chances going forward. Maybe? That's just my take on it.
So you say more? Yeah. Yes, Hassan. Go on, mate.
I was going to ask, right, the common trend here is to do with pressure, but isn't the whole club as a whole under pressure based on what we spent? From top to bottom, there's pressure anyway. So my question is how many of these players can crack under pressure? Because essentially, and I think we've addressed this issue before, or we pointed out one of the weaknesses for both the club and the manager is breaking down low blocks. We've seen yesterday, even though I know West Ham's a tough side, but they were 10 men. And during that game, as much as I'm guessing we were all hot-headed that time and during the game, but I was saying that we looked like we were the 10-men side yesterday. And I'm no expert here, but I'm pretty sure they went through the match notes and they knew that Antonio was a bully. I'm sure they knew that you should go like shoulder to shoulder with that guy. But my whole point is that how many of these guys do you think will thrive under pressure? And the biggest question mark is the low blocks. When will we see the side? When will we see?
I think when we have more creativity in the attack.
Hassan, that's a good question to ask, but I think it's too early, bro.
Yeah, come on.
It's too early to be asking that. It's way too early.
No, what he's asking about the creativity is actually valid to me, because I do still think. Right, let me ask you this: when we play against low blocks, who in the forward line do you rely on to create?
Did we play against a low block yesterday?
No, I'm asking you a question in general. What player on the pitch can you say consistently creates enough in our forward line?
I mean, we've only seen 2 games, but Jackson, he's got the ability to create. He's done it against Liverpool.
That's my problem. Yesterday,
the only one I've seen that looked threatening was probably Raheem Sterling. And the question mark whether he's consistent.
What I'm trying to get at is, from what I saw of him yesterday, which got me annoyed a little bit with him, is that he's coming so deep to try and link play up. But by the time we get the balls out to the win, we've got no one in the box, because he's forcing to try and link play all the time and stuff. Stay in the box, and focus and get it on the end of things. Don't always have to come deep and pick the ball up and turn around and run with it.
That will come as time. Like, as a young striker, like, first of all, he excels at link-up play. Let's not say like he's coming deep, but he's being successful 100%. In the play. 100%. It's normally successful, but it takes time and experience to find the balance of, okay, when should I come deep? When should I, it's going to take time. Game 2 first of all, West Ham is a team that's been together and just knows what they're going to do. They've been doing this for like 10 years now, at least with that coach. We're a new young team. This is a new young striker. So that's a tough team to play against. When we could really judge him against Luton and Bournemouth and Wimbledon.
100%.
That's when we're going to really see.
Too much on him in that instance, because of course I'm giving him time. I'm not sitting here saying I don't like him. That's not my question. All I'm saying is, who's going to create enough for him when we are up against other teams at the bridge who are playing 11 men behind the ball from the forward line, barring Enzo Fernandez, who has the ability?
Well, we got Noni, we have Noni, Enzo, Mudryk. Like, these are the players that these are the players. This is what they're here for,
This is my worry. This is my absolute worry. I actually think
I was going to ask you guys the second question. Sorry about that, Jim. Does it not concern you that we are? I know it's a little bit early, but we've seen 3 different halves of the start of the sloppiness, and we've 100% been punished every time. Does that not concern you a little bit? Of course, against Luton, let's be honest, we should smack them. I'm expecting us to smack them. There'll be serious questions if we go against them. But I was saying that since we have seen 3 different halves of sloppiness, maybe it's good. Maybe match day 5, match day 10, we'll see less of it. But does that not concern you a little bit?
I mean, if you should have came into the season expecting the first 3 to 5 games being, a little up and down.
Yeah.
That should have been your expectation to begin with, Hassan, because again, how many
players... I do expect misplaced passes and stuff like that, but not for that sort of duration. Where
I hear you. It is Chelsea at the end of the day, so I get it. There's a standard, but I do think the way we lost yesterday is different from how we normally lose at West Ham. You know, we normally don't create any type of chances.
Oh, we don't get back in that game.
And we would have lost. Exactly.
We normally get out muscled, man. Listen, the last time I remember us like actually bullying West Ham was Costa days, man. Since then, these lot just, I say to my boys, you guys know I'm from East London. I've got a bunch of West Ham friends. I tell them all the time, you lot are our bogey team. They are our bogey team. West Ham, I hate playing West Ham, bro, especially away. I hate it. Have we won at London Stadium? I think we've got one win there, Alex, right?
I think it's 2.
Is it 2?
Yeah, but I don't get it because we bully. Let's be serious. I don't think they offered a lot yesterday. I keep saying it. I really thought they didn't do anything other than just play on the counter and take their chances. They didn't play good football and you know, had Paqueta diving on the floor all the time and pretending he's injured and whatever.
They had the long balls over to Antonio, and that's what they did, and it worked. Please.
Yeah, and that's you know.
One question before I go, boys. Yeah, I know we're all kind of saying that we want to go to a back 4. What defensive pairing would you guys play? If we go to a back 4, like
Owen Silva,
easy.
I mean, right now, I think it would be Cole and Silva. But I like Badia Shield.
Would you start Chile again, or would you stick Ian Maatsen in there?
Oh, Maatsen, man. I want to see something different, man.
Chilwell plays.
He's going to play. Captain. He has to play.
He's going to play, though, isn't it?
It makes sense to play Chile again because look, you want to give the players a run. Like we can't say one thing for one player and then not do it with another. So I guess Chilwell fits into that bracket. But then you'll see Maatsen against Wimbledon. And I honestly, boys, I guarantee he'll score against Wimbledon, and then we will be saying we should probably start him against Nottingham Forest, and maybe that's a game when you can look at it and you can say, okay, but yeah, I don't think that's a difference.
Alex, him starting in this team, from what we've seen, is him playing as a winger, which means he takes Mudryk's position.
He can play in a lot of positions, though, and actually we talk about Mudryk as well. Ian Maatsen, he's more reliable than Mudryk. I think Madueke is more reliable than Mudryk. Sterling's going to be more reliable this season than Mudryk. So everyone's talking about players being chucked in and out of the squad, Mudryk being the main one, because obviously he cost us all that money and haven't really got the best out of him. It's no surprise that he doesn't start week in, week out, because if you're a manager, what's the number one thing you want? You want players you can rely on. Why do you think Gallagher gets started every week? Because you know exactly what's going to happen. You know what players are going to do for you. And Gallagher, he does exactly what you know he's going to do. He runs, he gets stuck in, and that's why Mason Mount starts at Man United. It's the same thing. So look, it might not always be pretty, but you know what you're going to get. When you see Mudryk on the pitch, you don't know if he's going to try and do this trick or that trick. You don't know if he's going to make that run or make that pass. Sometimes he shoots from 35 yards out, mate. Like he's a weird player.
Listen, Maatsen, I'm reading his stats now. This guy is a seasoned pro, man. When he went on loan to Charlton, 34 appearances, Coventry City 40 appearances, 3 goals, Burnley 39 appearances, 4 goals. He got in that team of the season, I think, as well for the championship. I don't get why we're not seeing much of him, man. Yesterday, I was a bit confused as to why Mudryk came on in that 10. I would have expected that someone like Maatsen maybe to come in that 10. If you guys remember that assist he got against Newcastle for Jackson, he's got the ability to go to fill in between the little pockets, man.
Yep.
I don't know what's going on with him right now. I hope we don't sell him.
I don't know why Poch abandoned a lot of the things that we were doing in preseason. I get it for the Liverpool game, kind of, but like for Santos, like what he didn't even make the bench. You telling me Gallagher had to play that whole 90, and I'm not just putting it on Gallagher, but just the style of the midfield, like that wasn't even able to change and we had to bring on an unfit Caicedo. We set him up essentially, I don't know why he abandoned everything.
But I was gonna say, right, if you take out Gallagher, who's gonna do the dirty work? Because let's be honest, Gallagher's the only guy that's doing that. Yeah, it would have been Caicedo, but he's unfit, so it's gonna have to be Gallagher. Because Enzo,
it doesn't have to be Gallagher. We've got Leslie there, we've got Santos there. It's Poch that's picking Gallagher. Like, let's not act like we haven't got natural CDMs in our team right now. Leslie came on yesterday as well. Did he come on yesterday?
No.
Oh no, so I'm thinking of last game. Sorry, I'm thinking of up against Liverpool. Sorry, but we've got actual sixes in our team and they're not being used, and that is my biggest concern and worry on Gallagher. look at the other options we've got that are natural in that position, and Gallagher still finds a way in the 11.
It is what it is. But Peter Stabs, thank you for the membership as well. Appreciate you, man, for joining Chelsea Fan TV as well, guys. If you do want to become a member, you can do. Please do so. Alex, what you going to say?
You took the words out of my mouth, Jem.
I do try and bring them up most of the time when it happens. We do get a couple of them come through. So yeah, it's welcome to the team, Peter. Welcome to the family, shall I say?
Thank you for joining.
Thank you for joining as well. We are gonna shoot in a second, but I need to speak to Showtime. If you guys want to dip because Arsenal are playing, you can go. I'm just gonna finish off quickly anyway. But Showtime,
Yeah, boys, I've got to shoot in a bit.
See you later,
boys. Yeah.
Talk to you in a bit, bro. Take care, bro. Showtime, go on, mate.
Thanks for having me on, Jim.
How you doing, bro?
Long time no see you, boys.
Yeah, not bad, man. It's been a while, bro. Nice to see you as always. So, new season, new players. What's your thoughts?
I'm very, very comfortable with what we have right now. I mean, yesterday's game was a little bit of shocker. I'm not pleased with the way Poch decided to line up. I think going a defensive lineup. I know you probably guys went over this already, but that with a back five when we didn't need to go with a back five, I think we should have stuck with a back four. I think that would have best suited us. And you didn't have to play Caicedo at all. You could have played Chukwuemeka, the African kid. You could have played a lot of players there. I mean, Enzo missing a penalty. I would have gave it to Jackson. I would love to see Jackson take the penalty. I wouldn't want Enzo to take the penalty. I would rather give it to Jackson, just based off his hard work. But I'm still optimistic. I mean, I'm not really, gonna yell and rant about the loss yesterday. We should have won or we should have drew, but we lost, and it is what it is. We go on, we fight on to the next week. It's not this. Remember, we went through ups and downs with Powder last season with the Tuchel situation, so I'm not really gonna put too much emotion in at the beginning of the season. I'm gonna give this guy, some time. He's gonna need some time because they still plan on buying players, and I think that's what the issue too is. We keep buying and buying. I think we need to slow down and deal with what we have. And I don't think rushing to buy players right now is ideal. I think we need to take our time and figure it out. I think we have good players. And I think Caicedo played yesterday because of his price tag. Mudryk played yesterday because of his price tag. I think you look to the bench and you look at these guys just sitting on a bench worth 100 million. I don't think our investors or our owners will like that. Like, they put some big money behind certain players, so they have to play before the ones that can play before them.
I don't agree with the price tag thing. That's football, isn't it? I mean, players come in, players come out. I mean, they're all expensive, aren't they? But
ideally, but if you look at it, if your investment costs 100 million and your investment is sitting on a bench while your 35 million player of Ian Maatsen is playing over your 100 million, then it comes to question like, why do we pay 100 million for this guy?
I agree. I do agree.
We need our money back in some way. So, Kai Havertz, we played him so much, he was stinking up the field, but we played him so much so we could sell him for 65 to that shitty club in Arsenal. We did it for that, to get our money back.
Yeah, that was a different situation. I think Poch has come in and he's obviously, I mean, we know how long that negotiation took. It wasn't quick. I think one of the main things when you come in is, right, listen, Todd, you're not going to walk into the dressing room every game. You're not going to dictate the starting lineups. Not that I think the owners had a massive impact on that, but to be fair, with Graham Potter, I do believe that the owners probably did walk all over him. Because maybe in America things work a bit differently. I quite like my baseball. They rotate so much in the MLB. Maybe Bowley thought it was going to be something similar in the Premier League, but it just doesn't work like that. So Poch has come in. He said, listen, this is what I need. You're either going to do things my way or I'm not going to be here. He even said when he had his interview, the first thing he said was, am I trying to get the job off of you or are you trying to offer the job to me? So, this is a confident guy. He knows what he wants and we're going to give him what he wants. Because
but then you also have to put the realization, if you look on the bench, you have the Aguerd Chukwuemeka boy, you have Ian Maatsen, you have players on the bench that deserve the playing time, but then you bring on Caicedo and you bring on Mudryk to play in front of them when those guys have been giving you nothing but good work during the preseason. So that begs the question of, is it not the money, the price tag of the players to make sure they come on? and show that they're worth that investment.
Well, it's
or
the
what?
pressure, isn't it? That's the issue with these price tags.
And they didn't help Caicedo yesterday to bring him on after you paid
No.
150 million, 15 million for him, and people are complaining and going at him and talking about Chelsea this and his price tag, and you put the pressure on him to come in and do what? Give us a penalty and lose the game?
Well, the
True.
most important thing isn't what we think; it's what Poch does. So if Poch keeps starting Caicedo, which I'm sure he will, and puts his arm around him, which I'm sure he will as well, I think things will work out fine. You know, I don't think we're going to have a situation where we've got a top midfielder with a top manager in a top system with a decent group of players around him. I'm not seeing a flop there, right? This isn't like, you know, a perfect example would be when Conte goes into Tottenham. He's got great players like Zouma, who he drops. And you say, what the hell's wrong with this player? And then Ange Postecoglou comes in, starts playing some good football. And what do you know? The players look better. So I think that straight off the back, we've got a manager who plays good football. And just that alone is going to make us look better. And that's going to give us the confidence, isn't it? But I think the conversation we're having is really not a conversation we should be having in August. This is a December conversation. You know, you can't talk about not giving players a chance when we've only had 2 games, you know. So let's give the manager a chance to rotate when we have the midweek fixtures as well, and then I think we can judge things a little bit more evenly.
Like you said, it's still very early doors, and I think we have to stay patient for now to see what Poch has to do. We have to give him the time. We have to give the players that have came in the time to gel. They've got 1 game a week all the way up to December, and then we've got obviously 2 games from whatever a week, and that will, you know, that will then be the time where we'll see where we are and where we stand and how we're playing, and you know, are we scoring or are we not losing as many games? All these questions will come at a later stage for us. But all I would say, stay excited, stay. You know, the other day wasn't, even though we lost, it was a better performance. It was a good performance the first half. Second half, all right, wasn't good, but there is positives. There is positives, and I think we just got to try and move forward. We've got a good couple of games for us to build up the fitnesses of players that have just come across. Lavia will probably start playing and cut all these games. Caicedo can work on his fitness in midfield. We can really start building what I think will be the real formation that we want to truly play with in these next couple of games. And I think we'll get a real idea of that under Pochettino in these next couple of games as well. So let's see what happens. Guys, we are going to dip. It's been an hour and a half. Thank you for all being here. Smash a like, subscribe to both channels if you can as well. Alex, thank you for coming in. It's nice always having you in here as well. And
It was a pleasure.
Sharing the thoughts and Showtime and Hassan, big up to you guys and all the other panel that have been on as well. But we will be back. We'll try and get in a preview show normal time. I know this is a bit of an unusual time today, and it's probably people not even aware that I'm even on, to be fair, at many points. But 1 o'clock is usually my time, 2 o'clock. So we'll see you in and around that time. Big up. Go and watch the Arsenal game. Hopefully they lose and we can laugh at them for the rest of the night. And we move on from there, guys. Big up. Take care, guys.